So good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 o'clock, and I think we can start already the very first session of Eden European Open and Digital Learning Week 2024, themed Tomorrow's Teaching and Learning. And I would like, I'm Giedra Tamuliūnė from Vytautas Magnus University, and I will be moderating this session together with my colleague Graham, who will also present later on. So I give the floor now to Graham.
Okay, thank you, Giedra, and thank you to Eden for inviting us here today. Eden events are always very good, found consistently for years. I've enjoyed them. Anyway, this webinar is on artificial intelligence and education, enhancing learning and pedagogy. And it is based on the AI Pioneers project, which is a large-scale Erasmus Plus project. It's based on the work coming out of that. The project started just after OpenAI released ChatGPT. And we've been working on a previous project called Tackle AI for 3 years before that, working in vocational schools. And our big problem then really was getting people excited or interested in AI. We did a lot of explaining what AI was. We did a lot of explaining why we thought it might be important in the future, but it was quite slow. And then, of course, out comes OpenAI and the world of education goes crazy, and it still is like an avalanche. As I said, we're particularly working in adult education and vocational education, although I think a lot of the things we're finding are fairly relevant across all the educational field. But one thing which I think is apparent, that we do have a technical overload, and pedagogy and learning seem to have been a bit forgotten in it, which is why we're starting now to push the pedagogy, because we think this is actually a barrier to the adoption of AI for teaching and learning. But at the same time, maybe, and we'll certainly raise this, it may be a weakness in the present generative AI's coding. So Pioneers Project, we have already produced guidelines for competencies for teachers, building on the European framework for competencies for teaching and learning. We produced a toolbox, an online toolbox, all about generative AI and AI in general. We are developing a network of AI pioneers. Pioneers being people who see themselves already as pioneers, or people who would like to become pioneers working in this field. We have somewhere about 550 members, I think, 500 members. We'll talk more about it. And a lot of the work we're doing at the moment is around ethical issues, which we'll talk more again about later. But we're launching a consultation on that. And at some point, Giedra will tell you more about how you can take part. And we really would like your views, how you can take part in this consultation on the ethical issues. I think that's enough for my introduction. I will now hand back over to Giedra, who's going to introduce me. It's an interesting process.
So, yeah, thank you a lot, Graham. Maybe it's not just about introducing you, but also giving some information about the session and how we're going to work today. So today we have a 90-minute session, and we'll try to organize it in a way so we could provide you depth and also invite you to engage into discussions. So we'll have 3 presentations, each from a leading expert who will address a unique facet of AI in education. And then we'll move to an open discussion where you as participants are encouraged to raise the questions, share your own perspectives, and engage directly with our presenters. For asking your questions, please use Q&A box, and so we can answer them either in voice or maybe in writing as well. So today I'm joined, as you see, by 4 presenters, and all researchers and members, including myself, from the forward-looking project AI Pioneers that Graham already mentioned. So if each of the speaker can give a quick wave. So we have Graham Matwell, whom you already saw. Also, we have George Bekiaridis, Ludger Deitmer, and we have Frida Klaus as well. So without further ado, let's begin our very first presentation. And I would like to invite now Graham, who will discuss learners' agency in the AI-enhanced education. Graham is a director of the Spanish Research and Development SME Pontedisco. He has a degree in history, and his current work as a part of the European AI Pioneers project is looking at how interdisciplinary approaches to generative AI can foster capacity building in education and new understandings of innovation and knowledge development. So Graham, over to you. We cannot hear you.
I always do that in every meeting at least once. But I'm going to try and share my screen now. Let's see if it's going to work. I think it is. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. Great.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about learners' agency in AI-enhanced education. I think that one of the failures or problems with present developments around AI, and goodness knows we have enough discussions, is we haven't listened to learners enough. I think that's a big problem in what they're saying. And on the few sessions I've been to where there has been learners, they are talking a lot about agency and wanting more agency and wanting more consultation. But I do think that a lot of the debates we're having at the moment around agency, and I'm going to talk about motivation as well, and I'm going to talk about that. I think a lot of the discussions are leading us to a wider discussion around what the purpose of vocational education, and in fact the purpose of education is. So that's very welcome. I think it's opening out to the debates. And I've gone back to John Dewey. I think we can go back a long time. This isn't a new debate. This debate didn't come about because of AI. The debates become because AI is raising those issues. Is the purpose of education employability? Because that's what's happening in most European countries. We're saying employability is the aim of it. But John Dewey says no. The purpose should not resolve around the acquisition of predetermined set of skills. My God, he could have been listening to the European Union on this, couldn't he? Not around that, but rather the realization of one's full potential and the ability to use those skills for the greater good. And that's what I want to start exploring in this presentation. I've already told you about the AI Pioneers project, but it's coming back to that point that AI has been around since 1951. So it's not a new thing which was invented 2 years ago. But is it just a bubble? I mean, the history of AI has gone through several bubbles and then what's called AI freezes when the interests have gone. And there's plenty possible suggestions that we may be in a massive bubble at the moment. And I think one of the issues is that with the lack of convincing use cases for generative AI, there's increasing attention turning to education. Education is being seen, yes, AI can do wonders for education. And that raises some issues in itself. Now, look, if we're looking at vocational education and training, which we certainly are, AI has a dual role. It's a subject, a part of the curriculum, a subject for many occupations. And of course, it's a subject for teaching and learning using AI. And those two roles are important. Now, I think it's a little ironic that vocational educational training may be the most affected by AI, and at the same time, it has probably the least attention. So the irony and contradiction there, but there's contradictions all over the place at the moment. Of course, the promise of AI for teaching and learning is it's going to, increasingly, it's going to reduce the teacher's workload. It's going to reduce administration. It can be used to produce great lesson plans and personalized learning, although we hear less about personalized learning than the others. So I think at the moment, the major emphasis is on how AI can handle administration, which I think according to OECD, 23% of teachers' time is spent on administration. I don't know if that figure is accurate or not. So you can see the point of that. The reality is a very uneven development, certainly in the areas I'm working in. It's mainly being driven by enthusiastic and imaginative and creative teachers and trainers, ironically, quite often without the approval of their management and sometimes without the knowledge of their management. So you have creative teachers seeing the need for people to learn about AI in their occupational areas. And of course, for adult education, which even less gets attention than vocational education training, AI is increasingly being seen as a core necessary for all people to know something about AI. And I suspect that the major responsibility for that is going to lie in the future with adult education, and especially when you've already got a finished MOOC, which thousands and thousands of people are following. Now, you can't do much about AI without looking at ethical issues. So I give you a quick blast of ethical issues, just in case you're not totally bored with them already. Impact on environmental and ecosystem. So I see Microsoft now wants to start building nuclear power stations because they're using so much power. 3 Mile Island, they want to renovate it to power the servers for AI. There's an issue here. And certainly speaking to you today from Valencia, we have major concerns about what this increased power usage is doing to the environment. AI-driven wealth concentration. AI appears to be run largely dominated at the moment by a few major companies. Is this ethical? Is this right? Is this the best solution? Is this the best solution for education? George may say something about that later. So in that way, it's widening social inequality. Equity is equitable access to AI. Bias, we all know that AI works off trained stuff from the internet. If the internet is biased, i.e. people on the internet are biased, then AI is going to be biased. Hallucinations, well, they continue to hallucinate despite people saying they're going to get over that by using more data. The latest signs are that even using increased amounts of data and increased training, it doesn't reduce the amount of hallucinations. And data ownership, well, there's court cases going on about that at the moment, aren't there? Deeper problems, fictional hype. Yeah, we've got a lot of hype about AI. Machine centrism prevailing over human centrism, and machine agency undermining human agency. I will talk more about that. downgrading AI competencies to operational skills bound to commercial AI platforms. That's looking for all kinds of problems together, and data privacy and security. Now, I'm coming at this at the moment through looking at activity theory. Now, some of you may have seen that diagram before of activity theory. I think that activity theory is a very good way of looking at AI and learning from a broader cross-subject basis. And because AI does resort in complex interactions, and it does cause tensions within the system, and I find those tensions and those complex interactions interesting. There is going to be, by the end of this week, I hope, a draft at least, a first publication of a paper based on this. I have written this as a paper, but I've not quite got it online yet. So you can explore then that whole methodological approach we've got. Talking about agency then. Now, agency refers to the capacity of individuals to act independently and make their own free choices. And is that happening? Is AI respecting agency? Well, our findings so far is agency can be both supported and challenged by the introduction of generative AI. I'm particularly interested in personalization and adaptive learning, which everybody keeps going on about it. But look, generative AI offers personalized learning, which could boost student agency because the contents of that learning are paced around their own pace and their own interests. But if AI is telling you what to do, and it's not clear why it's telling you what to do, explainable AI, if it's not explainable, it actually can reduce student decision-making and reduce student agency and reduce it quite seriously. Why is the AI telling me to do that? What choice did I have? Did I decide on this curriculum? Is the AI deciding on this curriculum? Is it me? Is it my teacher? How is it happening? Is it democratic? So there's all those issues. And then, of course, that affects motivation for learning. Intrinsic motivation can be increased by immediate feedback. And there's some very interesting projects of providing feedback on learning. And it enables creative interest aligned projects and novel ways. But on the other hand, AI-powered rewards, especially through gamification, and I'm a great fan of trying to learn languages using gamified AI, but to be honest, half the time, you tend to shift towards getting the rewards, the immediate rewards, rather than from the learning value of what you're doing. So general AI enhances motivation, but poses risks. Over-reliance can undermine student confidence. Easy content generation raises a lot of problems. And there's loads of research into this. Loads of people are producing reports on this. Some people say it enhances motivation and people learn faster. Some reports say, yeah, short-term learning, but long-term it actually reduces. So we've got a big debate going on in education at the moment. It's not clear. Now, of course, tied in this and important within this is AI literacy, the knowledge and skills necessary to understand, critically evaluate, and effectively use. Look at that word critically, because this is the emerging point. Critical AI literacy. The ability to critically examine and question AI systems and their societal impacts. And that is real literacy, isn't it? It's not just to understand what AI is, it's to critically look at its impact and meaning. And I think that's tied to a shift in education training anyway, towards a wider definition of competence, which includes aptitudes, motives, and personality traits. So you've got to see the interaction of a technology around AI with our understanding of learning and with our understanding as the role of education as a whole and the role teachers play in it. And that's why, once more, that activity theory is critical. Now, I'm quite encouraged by a lot of the international work going on around it, both by the European Commission, the Council of Europe, and UNESCO. UNESCO have their guiding principles for an AI competency framework for students, including steering the design and use of more climate-friendly AI and fostering critical thinking on the proportionality of AI for real-world challenges. And I don't think there's been enough discussion around some of those issues. Now, this is from the Council of Europe, and they are saying vocational education training is an integral part of the entire educational system and shares its broader aim for life as active citizens in democratic societies. And George and me have had a recent meeting. We did a presentation to the Council of Europe looking at how AI and democracy go together and what that should mean. And I'm very encouraged by the work the Council of Europe's undertaking. Now, this is AI as public good, and we're saying AI systems should be accessible to all, regardless of socioeconomic background. And AI tools, and George is going to say more about this, should be developed with inclusivity in mind and assuming that underrepresented groups aren't left behind. So look, AI is not just something nice that big corporations have developed. AI has got to be seen as a public good in education, and that has some implications. For instance, should the EU be funding AI cloud services rather than leaving it to private companies? And are AI platforms accessible, and should we be looking at open source platforms where teachers can access and develop AI tools rather than just leaving it to any company that comes along thinking that education's a good area to disrupt? So, want to find out more? Come to our website, AI Pioneers website, take part in the consultation we're going to start running this week on ethical AI, and please get engaged. Join AI Pioneers website. Thank you all.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Graham, for your presentation and insights, I think, on these very important and critical aspects related to AI in education, as it is really important, I think, to keep discussions and research about the risks that you mentioned, like over-reliance on AI, reduced cognitive effort, and the risk of replacing creativity and critical thinking. But since we have some more time and we don't have questions in the chat, I still wanted maybe to ask you, what are some other maybe potential blind spots or unintended consequences that we as educators may overlook in the use of AI in our teaching practice? What are your ideas? Graham?
Well, there's lots, isn't there? I mean, I do think there's a big question running here and increasingly coming up as to whether or not general AI is suitable for teaching and learning. So we've been relying on things like Claude and OpenAI, yeah? And we're saying these are big systems, you know, which we're saying can be used for everything. But there is a very interesting blog, I think, on Friday from Philippa Hardman, who's a researcher at Cambridge University.
Mm-hmm.
And she was running this sort of experiment, taking all the big general AIs and asking them about pedagogy and asking them about approaches to learning. and she found them pretty poor as a whole. There's some differences between them, but they were getting things wrong. They weren't understanding things, and they were also getting wrong some of the discussions and debates. They're particularly keen on learning styles. They were making a big thing on learning styles and failing to pick up that learning styles are generally discredited these days. But then she ran them some practical stuff about asking them to design a course, and found that in general, some were better than others, but in general, they weren't particularly good at active learning. They were very good at structuring a course objectives, but when it came to designing the approach to learning, they were a bit traditional and not really promoting that much activity, which leads her to wonder, say, we have medical AI now, yeah? There is a whole branch of large language models, particularly trained around medicine. Should we be having large language models for teaching and learning? And I think we should be. Of course, that raises lots of questions. Who's going to do the development? Where we're going to get the money to do it from? But I think that we can't go forward relying on general AI. I think we need educational AI, which for me centers around teaching, not centering around teachers doing their admin instantly, which is all the research going out because that's easy to produce the products, but around teaching and learning particularly. And we haven't got that at the moment.
Thank you a lot for your ideas and the answer. I think you just open up a new topic for the webinars and even discussions. So, and we can explore, I think, maybe these questions later on as well. Please, everyone, all participants, we still invite you to ask your questions in the chat or in the Q&A boxes. And now I would like to invite George, who will give us maybe a deeper look on these ethical aspects and considerations around AI tools. So George Bekyeridis is a director of Active Citizens Partnership, a nonprofit organization in Greece. He has a bachelor's degree in informatics and master's degree in distance learning. He is specialized in research and development into digital pedagogies and technology-enhanced learning. Also, George participated as a researcher in AI Pioneers, Tackle AI, and AI at School projects. I think that now George can even continue his list with new projects that are upcoming this year. So, George, the floor is yours, please. Not the floor, the screen is yours.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Gedra. Thank you for inviting me to join this webinar. Let me share my screen. I need to find the right window, as always. Okay, I hope you can see my window now. When I invited to that and I read the title of my presentation, actually, I thought, okay, this is a very big issue. How I can manage to cover this topic in 20 minutes? Of course, it's not easy, but I'll try to give you an overview. We cannot go in detail to everything of this topic because all of those things, ethics, effectiveness, and impact of AI tools in education is very, very big issues. I try to structure before that, because my friend Graham forgot to mention that, all of those nice images we are using in our presentations, Graham and myself, we took it from a website called Better Images of AI. So we are not using these boring images from Google search, but very nice Creative Commons license images. So in any case, for your next presentation, you feel free to use these Better Images of AI website. So my presentation will be divided in 4 parts: ethical considerations, effectiveness assessment, impact evaluation, and then I'll try to give some recommendations at the end. So when it comes to ethics, AI, I try to summarize what we are going to include in ethical considerations in related to AI tools in education. There are for me three major areas. One is related to privacy and data protection. Second one is equity and accessibility. And third one is transparency and accountability. I'll try to give in the following slides a quick overview of those three core areas of ethical consideration. First is privacy and data protection, which is paramount. We know that AI tools needs data. Data is the food for the AI because they need a huge amount of data in order to be trained and to develop tools. And when we are talking about AI, at least in this presentation, and most probably in Graham's presentation before, we are not talking about generative AI only. We are talking about different AI tools, machine learning tools, prediction algorithms, not only that. All of those tools, they need data. And for sure, we need to be careful about those data for two dimensions. The first is this data needs to be clean and unbiased because biased data will drive us to biased results. Second, those data needs to protect the personal data of the people. So we need to be very careful. Technically, almost 80% of the work for developing AI is to have good, well-organized and clean data. The training process itself, it needs a huge amount of processing power, but it's done automatically. So we need to be very careful of that. Second thing is the data storage location. We know that those data is being stored in big data centers. And some data centers, for example, in Europe, we have a very strict rules, and that's good for handling personal data. But this is not happening most probably in data storage in China or in data storage locations in the United States. Lately, they started to work on data protection rules. And this is a critical point, where those data are being stored and what the rules apply for this. And this is a vague area. And then we need to have a good balance between personalization and privacy. Because when I'm asking to have a personalized offering from AI, which is one of the major services we can get from AI tools, if I don't share some of my data, how the AI can understand what I mean? So there is the right balance. When we evaluate tools, we need to know, we need to understand that we need to find the right percentage of each of those two ingredients in order to have a good outcome. Then we go to equity and accessibility. We know, and Graham mentioned that we have a digital divide. And digital divide is that not all the students and teachers across Europe, because now we are talking about Europe, have access to those tools. Some, we know that, and we know that because there are some constraints from financial problems, lack of knowledge, not any professional development for teachers or to understand how to use those tools. So that means that it's digital divide deepens the divide of using AI tools. And we need to be very, very careful how to deal with this situation. And then we have another issue. I'm coming from Greece. Greek is a language that is being spoken by 20 million people all around the world. It's a very small language. And, even the fact that there are some good developments on Greek, especially on AI and generative AI, it's not it's not perfect. We know that AI landscape is dominated by English. Chinese is another area which is we don't have a close interaction with those, but it's a huge amount. And then maybe Spanish, and that's it. I know Gedra comes from Lithuania. Is Lithuanian? It's a very small language too. How do we deal with that in AI? This is related to equity and accessibility. And of course, the cultural representation is also important. Try to generate an image by AI, generative AI tools. Most probably you can find a lot of cultural issues when those images are being generated. And finally, we have the cost of implementation, which is a big factor. We know those tools are very expensive. I'm not talking about a subscription to ChatGPT. I'm talking about licensing tools to use in a school level or in a region level, in a country level. Those tools are very expensive. And for example, if you give access to an API where you develop a tool, easily the cost can be exploded to thousands of euros every month. So this is also another issue, and this is also related to the slide Graham presented in this previous presentation about AI as public good. We need to consider that. We proposed that in our keynote speech in Council of Europe, and we had a very positive feedback on this. Okay, so and then we have the other problem, the other issue, which is ethical issue, which is transparency and accountability. We know that we have some bias in the algorithms, and this is related with the way those systems are being trained. They train with specific data, and a lot of data are being excluded. So what we get, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes can be biased. We need to be very careful when we evaluate those tools. And then we have to check that how different stakeholders understand how those algorithms and how AI is working. I'm member of a squad about explainable AI with Graham and Gedre from European Union, working on that. Make AI algorithms transparent, to be understandable, what you expect to get from an AI, from an algorithm. And then we have the decision-making process, which also needs to be transparent. We need to know why we decide in a school level to use this tool and not the other tool, and what is the process makes us to decide to use those tools. There are teachers and trainers that using some tools because on their own initiatives, but when we are going to a school level or to institution level, then maybe we're forced to use some of the tools because of the policies. And this needs to be transparent and clear. And now we are moving to the effectiveness assessment of different AI educational tools. This is a very big topic. I'll try to summarize my in the following slides in three topics. One is the integration of AI tools with existing pedagogy, and then is how to measure learning outcomes when we are using some AI tools, and finally some challenges and mitigation strategies related to AI tools in education. Okay, integration with existing pedagogy. We know, and this is very, very important, to use AI tools to align with existing pedagogies. We cannot say that AI is here to replace teachers. It's here to assist teachers, maybe to take some of the load of the teachers' work with some boring tasks. But AI is not here to replace in any of the levels of the educational or the stages of the educational process. So we need to enhance. Maybe we need to redefine, to redesign our pedagogical approach. And this is a very interesting research topic on that. But we cannot say that AI is here to replace teachers. And then we need to offer teachers continuous professional development. Teachers need to training to be trained to maximize the outputs of AI, to understand how it works. Teachers are very creative persons in general, so they can find ways. If we teach them how to do it and how it works and give them some ideas, they'll find ways to use it creatively. But we need to offer them continuous professional development courses. And then we need to have some standards. We cannot say every tool is for everything, or to adapt or to use tools that are, we don't know how it works, what they are doing, etc. So we need to have standards. Those standards can be in European level, can be country level, can be even in a school level with school policies that set some standards, and we need to respect that when we are integrating AI tools in our teaching process. And then we need to understand, and we need to find ways to measure learning outcomes. Was it good? Because we don't know if it works or not, if this personalized approach works, or if the automatic assessment system works or not. And we need to focus on three different areas. One is if the student experience has been improved or not, how to measure the engagement of the students in the process, and then finally to identify different behavioral patterns in order to adapt our strategy, or to improve the tools, or to change approaches. Very important thing. And then we have all of those challenges when we are trying to integrate the tools in our learning and teaching process. And of course, there are technical challenges. For example, how those tools can be integrated in the classroom with existing hardware, with existing software, with existing tools. And then, as we said, data is very important, a very crucial aspect of AI. How we can actually manage those data needed or generated by this process. And as I mentioned before, we have those pedagogical challenges. For example, are teachers ready to adapt or not the AI tools in education? And when are ready, how we can make this process efficient? And of course, the student engagement. How we engage our students in this process and with these tools. Okay, and finally, we are going to impact evaluation. This is the third area of my presentation. Evaluating impact, of course, it goes because after over the lessons, over the core educational process in the classroom, and we need to see how AI affects the broader experience. Okay, we need to assess student experience impact. We need to analyze the teacher's empowerment, or to check the institutional transformation. So we can see this in three different levels: student, teacher, institution. So we need to find and to use existing tools, or adapt existing tools, or find new tools in order to analyze the engagement of the students. Or is personalization that is being offered through AI has benefits for the educational process or not? And also we need to analyze, because those tools are digital tools, and of course will be affecting digital literacy development. So we need to check all of those in student level. Then we have the teacher empowerment analysis. Graham mentioned before that AI is very good at that for boring tasks and for all of these administrative tasks. You know, AI is here for helping students, for helping teachers to be more time efficient. You know, AI can do all of those boring, maybe administrative tasks, and so teachers have more time to be creative and focus on their educational process. Second is the professional growth of the teachers, where enhance their skills and competencies and knowledge around those technologies. And finally, we need to assess and to analyze, has the teaching capabilities improved or not by using those AI tools? I'm trying to be critical against that. I'm not always fan. Even my background is software engineer and technologist, that AI is here to always to improve the teaching capabilities. I'm not sure. So we need to assess and we need to analyze that. And of course, then we need to go to the institutional transformation and check the impact of the institutional transformation. For example, scalability. So is AI offering to institutions to scale up, to go to the new areas, or to offer to target larger amount of students, or is it? We need to check that. And of course, we need to check about the organizational change, such as, for example, new policies, new infrastructure adjustments, new CPD offerings for teachers. And finally, because institutions are, it's a community impact. Institutions are not isolated environments. It's part of a larger community, and through the educational institutions, the larger community will be benefited. So we need to assess the community impact. And this is, I don't know if I'm on time or not, but I think I am. And this is my last slide, and about conclusions and recommendations. I think we need to develop evaluation frameworks. In the AI Pioneers project, we are going to publish very soon an ethical framework for evaluating ethically different AI tools. And of course, your feedback and contributions for that is crucial, so you can find related links and how you can do that. But it's not, we need to develop those frameworks. The research community needs to go and develop evaluation frameworks for all of those tools in the areas I mentioned before. The other thing is that we need to analyze best practices, not only European level, but global wide. You know, it's very crucial to see how others do that, and to analyze and try to adapt to our needs. And finally, we need to have a strategic planning. Strategic planning in European level already is being done, a lot of work around that. We need to have a strategic planning in our schools, but also we need to have a strategic planning by ourselves as educators and teachers. And that's it for me. I'll be very happy to answer any questions in the Q&A session later. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, George. You are really on time. You didn't take too much time. We have some questions coming. Some of them are a bit maybe more general, so we can leave it for the end of the session. But based on your very last maybe slides, we have a couple of questions. Like, what would you say are the biggest barriers for AI adoption scalability?
The biggest barriers is, first is, for me, is related to the skills, people they don't know. But there are, most of the initiatives at this moment are individual initiatives, especially in vet and adult education level, not in the university level. Yeah, are from pioneers that using those tools, but very few schools have policies on that. Last year, when we developed the supplement for DigiComp2 for AI Pioneers project, you can find it on related to AI skills. One of the questions we interviewed schools and teachers and educators all over Europe. One of the questions is, does your school has an AI policy? Only 10% they had. Maybe now it's 20 a year after, but I didn't expect to have more. So yeah, we need to have a guideline how to do it. We cannot say, okay, I'm going to ChatGPT, write a prompt and get that. This is okay to experiment, but this is not enough.
Okay, thank you a lot. And maybe before we jump into the practical presentation, more practical examples, we can still cover one, I think, very important question that we had in a Q&A. It's related to what Graham was presented, and also it relates to George's presentation. So given the ethical concerns around climate impact, wealth concentration, biases, do you believe the benefits of AI today are significant enough to justify these risks? This is a question from our participants.
I think it's a process. No, I would firstly say, no, I don't think it's sufficient to balance the risks. But I don't think it's going to go away if Graham Maxwell or George Bricciardis says, no, we don't think it's enough. AI isn't going to go away, unfortunately. I wish it would, but it won't. And therefore, I think there's also an ethical consideration for our students that if their future is going to include AI, generative AI in it, we educate them around it. Now, that's a difficult balance, isn't it? But that's the position why I'm taking this position, that we need educational AI, where we start addressing those risks. And I think if we developed our own large language models, we could address some of those risks, not all. You're not going to particularly overcome the problem of energy use. Although even there, I'm more interested in small language models rather than large language models. Of course, they need large language models because they're trying to say that AI will help and solve everything in the universe. But we're saying, no, we can use some techniques to develop small language models which can overcome many of those problems. And I think it's ethically, we have to teach people as a whole how to use AI rather than ignore it. But it's a tricky question. I think I ask myself that question most days, to be honest.
Okay, thank you a lot. George, would you like to add something?
Yes, for me, this is, as Graham mentioned, for me, we need to think about AI not in large scale. AI can be run, and a very interesting and very powerful models can be run in our computer or in a computer in our classroom. That we don't need such amounts of energy, and we have more control on that. I fully embrace the movement of open source AI models and that can be run in small scale. That this is, for me, this is the future of AI, rather than those huge models. You know, to train the new GPT, there are some $1 billion. It's crazy. Where we are going. In 5 years, we need $1 trillion to train a model. This is not effective. This is not sustainable. We need to find other ways.
Thank you a lot. Okay, thank you a lot. You can also, speakers, you can present some of the questions in the Q&A section. You can write them down. You can write your answers, or we can discuss them later on. And now let's turn to a more practical, maybe, perspective and to our final presentation. So Ludger and Frida provide the real-world examples of how AI is supporting skill development in vocational settings. So Dr. Ludger Deitmer has been working as a senior researcher at the Institute Technology and Education, ITB, University of Bremen. He acted as convener for the European Vocational Education Research Network and the European Educational Research Association. Ludger initiated regional, national, and European pilot projects in the design and implementation of work-based curricula for VET teachers and published a large variety of articles as well. And today he's joined with Frida Klaus, who is a research associate and doctoral candidate at the Institute of Technology and Education and the University of Bremen as well. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in educational science. Her research interests focus on the innovation and internationalization of vocational education and training. As part of AI Pioneers project, she's working on the use of AI in VET sector. So, Ludger and Frida, the screen is yours now.
Thank you. I will share our presentation. Yes. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, Ludger and I will now spend the next 20 minutes providing insights into application examples in which AI is already being used in vocational schools and institutions. First, I will start with a brief overview of our understanding of the process of implementing AI and then go into specific steps for the implementation of an AI. And after that, I will briefly describe how we identified AI-affine vocational schools. Ludger will then present specific application cases in the areas of industrial technical AI applications and large language models. And towards the end, Ludger once again presents the common features between the application examples and I will briefly outline possible challenges that may arise when implementing AI. And at the end, we will give you one more little question to think about and to take home. Our understanding of the process of implementing AI usually consists of 4 phases, which follow a circular pattern. This means it begins with objectives and an impact assessment. In phase 1, in which, for example, the framework conditions and purpose are determined. For example, a learning task can be an objective. This is followed by the phase of planning and design. In this phase, concrete agreements are reached on ethical issues. And phase 3 is about preparation and implementation, in which, for example, qualification offers for stakeholders are discussed. And phase 4 evaluates the process so far and deals with adjustments to improve the process. And this ensures that the focus remains on vocational training. The phases do not run in a strict chronological order, but also simultaneously and complement each other. And with regard to vocational education and training institutions, 8 further aspects can be helpful in implementing AI, and these terms are important for the evaluation to pick up on phase 4 from the previous slide. The first is the equipment. It involves an exploration of the possibilities and limitations of the school technical equipment and facilities, such as electronic laboratories or something like this. The prior knowledge of teaching staff means creating a profile of the teaching staff's knowledge in relation to the chosen topic, AI tool, AI project, and thus their ability is included. And thirdly, there is the workload, in which the possibilities for reducing the teacher's workload should be examined. The school management and the AI project team should be involved and continuously informed, and collaboration should also take place outside the organization. So many stakeholders are involved, and yes. Financing means financial possibilities such as funding programs and how the whole process should be financed. The objectives of implementing AI should be discussed with the students and all stakeholders, meaning teachers, trainers, trainees, and the milestones should be set that are binding and provide a good overview so everyone knows how the process or the project will run. And finally, regular monitoring and presentation of the project work should take place. Yes, as part of the AI Pioneers project team, we identified vocational schools with an affinity for an eye in order to find specific use cases here in Germany. The focus was mainly on schools in the northern and western federal states in Germany. We looked at the websites of various vocational schools in Hamburg, Bremen, and Lower Saxony and searched for the keywords project, robotics, and automation. We found more than 220 vocational schools in the spectrum of robotics, industry 4.0 innovations, and beyond regular courses. And among them, more than 15 vocational schools were found to be carrying out explicit AI activities. Overall, we conducted workshops online and in presence, interviews and site visits. There were several workshops between 2 and 3 hours with some schools, and over 25 teachers participated. Just last week on Wednesday, we conducted a workshop at the Institute of Technology and Education here in Bremen on concept development and implementation strategies of AI in VET, and it was a very interesting and informative workshop. And the main topics in the interviews were AI concepts, work and learning tasks, learning practice, evaluation data, and future perspectives. And Ludger will now present various application cases.
Yes, I'm going more in a bit more detail. Is it a good understanding here? So technically, just when then give me a signal because I get no feedback. And here are some application examples. First of all, before I start, I have to admit that this process is rather at the beginning. It's not let's say, a process which is already there for many, many years. So what we see are some case examples within the institutions, partly some departments who start to work on that. And the key actors on that activity is in the middle, clearly the teachers and trainers. Yes, and they are the most crucial group who have a strong interest under these teachers we met and talking about AI to think about how they can implement first, let's say, small steps, I would say. So I really would want to size it down to what it realistically is on the practical side. That's, for example, and you see here the logos of the schools surrounding us here, in a region with altogether something like 8-9 million people, and you have vet schools between that. And this is, for example, someone who work on the program on cobots. There's the thinking, making use of AI in already existing robot production plants. So in these schools, they have created a small factory, so to say. So they play on that, and now they put in AI to make the process stronger, better, and getting a smaller touch to mistakes and errors within their systems. Based, and this is also has to be added and clearly say, rather technical occupations, mechatronic application is a key application, educating apprentices in a 3 years based courses. So others are going into the field of autonomous driving, and others work on the field of ChatGPT. So I would say 3 big lines come together here in that agenda, and this is more or less. This is, sorry, help me, I'm lost a bit. So here, yes, this is based on, when you see that picture in total and the cases we are adding here, you can say there are 3 clusters of project can be found to systemize that and to make an overlook. In the field of robotic, within industrial production environments, where they start to experiment and they start first, let's say, initial projects for apprenticeship students in mechatronic occupations. So to say, we have various things. I go into detail on 4 cases later. Other cases deal with the topic of autonomous driving in simulated learning environments. This is why the fact is that we have big automotive plants here, like say Mercedes, like VW, etc., and these companies clearly have an interest to introduce some kind of evaluation-based and AI-based tools into their companies. So this let's say falls over with the students, and these are dual students who in that German tradition to have to work on a dual system. And Graham has mentioned it before. Collaboration can be done directly with the learning companies, because they go 3 days into the school and 3 days or 4 days into the company. So there is much potential with AI to do it simultaneously together with other learners in a learning region, so to say, in a learning environment. And the last case is, let's say, the use of large language models in several teaching subjects. These are not only technical, this is also a teaching subject like German or English or whatsoever, where they use, you find new practices. Now, you see this picture here with schools across different countrysides here in the region, and now come to the industrial technical AI application in relating to robots and autonomous driving. There is, for example, some school, this is Osnabrück, which developed or deals with robots in a new way, that these are collaborative robots. So there is no case or security burdens around that. They are collaborative robots, and they the task of the apprenticeship is now that they should be able to control which of the things and a robot is picking out of a package, and whether the robot packs the correct ones, and they can, let's say, by gestures, they can control the robot. And this is, of course, the students find that very interesting, and they do that beside the activities they already have in the curriculum, and many things they have to come along. So this is one example of, let's say, use AI in technical arrangements. The other way is simultaneous driving is simulated, which is really more or less in the starting point. You can say you cannot do that in reality on the street, so you build models, and simulate with small intelligent driving models, give them first a task to drive based on microcontroller technology, and so to say, to estimate risk and future consequences of this of these kind of machines, including ethical questions. I mention only moral machines in ethical lessons, beside that these kind of technical driven activities, to discuss the moral dilemmas, which is in road traffic when it is based on autonomous driving. So there are a lot of questions, not yet answers, but at least the students can be motivated to think also of ethical questions in that context. And large language models in adult education are only, we have also several examples. One is for exactly energy tracking for building management, in which they use ChatGPT to visualize energy consumption with economic and ecological costs. Vocational teachers and students do that together in teams. And this kind of data is then given for the hand of house masters and building managers to optimize energy use and reduce pollution in that way, while buildings also pollute a lot, and not to forget. And there's a lot of energy be saved for the future. The next one, or the last example, is ChatGPT for learning tasks for mechanic apprentices. this is using ChatGPT to try to transform it into technical activities in which the students organize their working places. And the tasks are coming from their occupation, but by AI, they get an assistant tool, yeah, to develop their work further. But they have to learn in that respect to critically rethink what they get offered by ChatGPT and how they can adjust their prompting to make it correct. So it's not only, let's say, the dimension, is also the fact that often false data and hallucination, Graham was speaking of it already, is a point which they have to deal with, and right at the beginning when they deal with that ChatGPT tools, and the teachers have a key role in that. So I would say, and this, let's say, comes back to the introduced framework at the beginning, we can say the common key features of the cases presented rather shortly here is, first of all, creating these work and learning environments, these AI labs, and secondly, to launch clearly a strongly student-centered pedagogical methods, no? That the knowledge and the skill formation is based on activities which are undertaken by the students by support of the teachers. The teachers have a key role in getting the process, the learning process, smoothly coming forward. The third one, new learning settings are coming up, hackathons, certified project meetings, together with the industry. We have good examples for that, and teacher AI skills are to be enhanced, definitely. This is not only the, let's say, how to transform ethical questions into lessons, it's also project management methods, industrial seminars are needed to update the basically good technical skills teachers have, because normally in the technical vocation, they have at least an engineering background or something like that. So, but specifically the AI challenges all that process, and a lot of things have to be questioned for the future. And last not least, the regional incorporation and collaboration within the dual vet system is also an aspect which challenges that altogether. So I hand over to Lisa for the last round.
Yes, we have also identified a few challenges that still exist when implementing AI in vocational institutions. On the one hand, a sustainable and sensitive use of AI, meaning the question of ethics, but also that the output is critically questioned, since some students use it as copy and paste and do not question it. There are still challenges in explicitly implementing AI into curricula and developing suitable examination formats, and the transfer between knowledge about and learning with AI also still poses a challenge. And then through the input of a vocational school teacher who published an article in a newspaper, the risk of skill neglecting. Skill neglecting means that AI is only used for a quick output, so for fast results, but there's no learning effect. So the AI tool does all the work, but there's no critical reflection and review of the output. So students use AI to avoid the learning process. Ludger, do you have more challenging points to add here?
There are many, but I would give the floor to the audience, because I think we are rather, let's say, short-term. Do we still have time for that?
Yeah, I think we could move already to the discussion, because we do have quite a number of questions that
we
might
have
be.
that point, and we come back to more specific additional aspects. There are a lot, I must say, so to say, so it's not closed up, rather farther we in the process, I would think, after these fundamental changes which have been taking place. So I hand over back to Frida.
Yes, we have a little outlook question with regard to skill neglecting, which we want to pass on to you, and you can take it home to think about. And the question is skill neglecting really a risk that can arise when using AI, and how can skill neglecting be avoided? Yes. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Frida and Rüdiger, for sharing your practical examples. And based on that, we have also a question related to that sector, which was already raised for Graham, but maybe both now you can answer that. What professional development should a vet center be doing to prepare the teaching staff for an AI future in teaching and learning? What would be your ideas?
Well, I mean, we have published an 80-page document on this with the competencies for teachers and trainers in learning about AI as an extension to the European framework to Pedagogy. And that covers quite broad areas. The point is, of course, as publishing a list of competencies, as has UNESCO has published its own framework, it is the matter now for implementation, and we need to think very hard about what is the best way to support teachers in gaining those competencies, where's the gaps, and what's the best way of doing that. So yeah, good work from us, good work from UNESCO on the frameworks, but now it's a question of how this can be implemented in practice, which I think is much harder target.
And when I may add on, I think we have certain cases, which have started to do something. They are working rather isolated still, There's still a big need for exchange, between these practices, so they can develop things also from practice to practice, so to say, Not so much that this is going through when we publish something, nobody is looking at it in a vocational school. Come on. Yeah. So you have to trigger things in a practical way through the institutions on further training. Let's say we also have study programs for vet teachers, so to say, in which these kind of, let's say, practical cases are getting an exchange process under each other to trigger, let's say, practices based on good evaluation data, which also is still also in an infancy, at the beginning because of that, This also has to be strengthened between the different institutions for the coming time.
Thank you a lot. Also, we have a question, I think it was more related to George. Could you provide insights into evaluations that have already been implemented? As you mentioned, the evaluation schemas and examples. Seeing some real-world applications would be incredibly helpful.
Unfortunately, at this moment, I don't have something to share, but I promise I can share through the mailing list or how it's possible to those data. For sure, what we are going to plan to do is to try to test our own evaluation framework in the following days. But I don't have anything to share at this moment. Sorry.
Thank you a lot. So since you mentioned already our AI Pioneers evaluation, we have a question and comment in the chat as well, that the conditions when, how, under what circumstances AI should be applicable, also our readiness to work with the OpenAI tools should be first discussed, conditions defined, and only then we can talk about the potential. So what conditions were defined by AI Pioneers? Can any of you comment on this as well? A little bit.
Sorry, the conditions are set up by the society itself, which gives an active impulse to the development of AI. And AI is at the beginning, So when that is established in certain occupations, in certain jobs, there is a specific need that clearly also, let's say, vet students have to be trained more strongly and systematically, as part of the curriculum, which is already overloaded yet. So we have a curriculum, yes, and these curriculum programs run. So they have to be develop some specific space to have more AI-based, including in ethical dimensions, etc., and so on, into these institutions, and based on good practice examples, which give then the interest for the VET teachers to start to implement within their own institutions implementation of AI projects and AI cases. So this is something which is more or less rather out of the 220 schools, maybe at all 10 to 20% dealing with that at the moment. Yeah, it's not 100% yet, and this will take years, I think. But on the other hand, nobody knows how quick certain kind of students will change their move and interest and motivation to engage themselves in designing and shaping let's say a correct and good AI, because a lot of AI is based on, let's say, still open questions which are not so satisfactorily resolved so far.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Ludger. Yes, George.
Yes, to follow up to Ludger's comment and to answer the question, we created an evaluation schema with a specific targets for evaluating the ethical use of different AI tools. This is not yet publicly available because we are in the phase where we are testing it and we are finalizing it. If anyone interested to have the pre-public version just for feedback, we're very open to share with them. We cannot publish yet in our website. For sure will be published by the end of the year, in the following weeks. But in any case, if anyone interested, and of course, the feedback will be very valuable for us, for sure we can share. So let's contact us through AI Pioneers Project, and we can share this schema, evaluation schema we have developed.
Thank you. So since the time is running and we need to leave some more minutes for the wrap up and announcements, I have a couple more questions, if you can be maybe brief. Of course, the question is quite wide. To what extent can AI enhance or degrade quality of learning?
Good question.
It's a great question. I'd say it can, but it might make it worse. That's the point I was trying to make at the beginning. We don't understand the pedagogy. We don't understand the answers. What we do understand is the answer is not just writing endless better prompts, just writing better prompts alone. And that's what people seem to be doing most at the moment, doesn't help. We need to discuss, we need to look at these examples like Lucas just showed. We need to discuss how it's working. We need to find out more. And we certainly need to ensure that teachers and students are involved in those discussions.
I can only agree to that. This is absolutely right. It needs to be a more intensive discussion. I must say, and this is a positive thing, the motivation is rather strong and it's rather growing. Yeah, this kind of motivation to engage in these questions, because they pop up every day in publication, newspapers, magazines, and so on. And clearly, it's all definitely will be in the formal curriculum way, but already the schools look for, let's say, gateways where they can establish something new beside the formal curriculum. Yeah. So where they have more freedom to establish that, and these are in specific schools which are within VET centers where they can do that. For example, like these weekend activities, which they have established in some schools, which they do together with companies, to test and experiment with. You can say this a bit of researching activities, Jugendforscht. Yeah, sorry.
The biggest problem now, with AI, it's of course there is a big hype. Everybody's talking about that now. The big problem for me is that it goes so fast Every single day there are new tools, new developments, etc. We cannot follow, and even the research is very fast on that. We cannot read what is happening, what are the new developments, and you know this maybe sometimes gives stress to the teachers. Said, "Oh, I'm behind. I need to learn this tool, the other tool, new tool. Need to No, we need to relax, and we need to go to understand how it works, what it's doing, and then to try to use it." If you ask, most of the people believe that they will revolutionize sorry, the education. It's not true. It has not been proven yet. Let's see. It's very new to think like this. Thank you.
Thank you a lot for the answers, and we still have quite a number of questions coming in to the chat box. But maybe since we need to finish on time, maybe we can ask participants and invite them to join our Pioneers consultation webinar on the 27th of November, where we'll be happy as well to discuss of some of the questions that we can answer, maybe that we didn't have time to answer in this meeting, in this session. Also, to Katerina, who is asking about the framework for implementation, you can also please, we invite you to contact our AI Pioneers or Ludger in person, and we'll be happy to share the resources that we have. And now I would like to thank a lot to all the speakers and also to participants who raised so many questions. We see that this topic is very relevant and important. And now I would like to give the floor to Sandra Kuchina from Eden to share some announcements and say some final words.
Thank you, Giedre. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to see so many of you joining this really superb session. The topic is really high on the agenda, and I think that there were no better session to start our European Open and Digital Learning Week. I would just ask if you can share the announcement slides if possible. So this is the first of the sessions within our week. In front of you here, you can see how you can become Eden a member. But on the next slide, you will see that during this week, we have more sessions. And also on Wednesday, we will have session about artificial intelligence, so we can continue discussions. On Tuesday, tomorrow, you can join us talking about European Digital Education Hub. Something which is quite important as it connects experts, academics, people around digital education. So I invite you all to be there to see how you can benefit from joining the hub. As I said, on Wednesday, we will have another session about AI from a different perspective. Today, we talked about pedagogies and the present situation. On Wednesday, we'll talk about future. On Thursday, we will talk about strategies for delivering high quality teaching and learning. We have representatives of European and world global associations. So we will join efforts to share know-how and our views on that. And on Friday, we will be talking about tomorrow's universities from the perspective of university alliances. So as you can see, mostly all sessions start at 1 o'clock, as this one today, but on Thursday it starts at 3 o'clock. And our last slide for the announcement is that we invite you to think about already in your planning for the next year about joining Eden Annual Conference, Eden 2025, which will be in city of Bologna, Italy. You know that University of Bologna is the oldest university in Europe, so we are going back to the roots. And please mark in your calendar June 15 to 17 and contribute with the papers, workshops, posters, and we're looking forward to see you there. I would like to thank also, yes, please look about what we prepare in Eden Digital Education Hub. We have some webinars there already. We have mentorships and clinics. So quite a lot, but best is to join tomorrow's session and see how you can benefit from all of that. And in the end, I would like to thank today's speakers from really, really great presentations and discussion on this topic. iPioneers project is really something to be looked at. And now, Giedre, back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you a lot, Sandra, for the announcements and those final words. Thanks once again to all presenters, and so many questions raised and not discussed. So I think we'll meet again on Wednesday or Thursday when we have the same topic from different perspectives. And let's connect and keep our discussions in AI Pioneers or in other Eden events. Thank you a lot and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Bye.
Bye to you all.
Bye.